Mahalo. So with that then, if we're going to go ahead and seal up the aha, we ask the question, the mauna. If we're pau, wapau? Alright. You feel it's ready to send off, to set it free? Uanoa? Uanoa. And now let's go ahead and we're going to bring it all together. All this good mana, this energy that we've just accumulated, that we have manifested right here. And we're going to send this mana to the mauna, to where all these prayers are sent to every single day from all different parts of the world. Let them do their bidding now. All that we manifested, all these intentions that we gathered, bring it here and we're going to send it out to do its bidding. Mahalo ako. E Kanaka po kaya ol. Kanaka po. Kanaka po. Kanaka po. Kanaka po. Baik kalima. Baik kalima. Baik kalima. Yo. Yo. Ya. Ya. Yo. Yo. Gotta bring Uncle Kimi in, yeah? Oh, okay. Oh, mahalo, mahalo. Luwi no kamana no. Okay, I'm letting it know. So I've been watching my clock a lot tonight because actually right after here, I need to shoot to Kona and catch a plane. Our Ohana in the Bay Area have been calling.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bay Area Diva. Yeah. Yeah. So, I like to share this all the time. I've been having to send out a lot of speaking engagements, and I've been honored to be able to share with other speakers of our Lahui, amazing, beautiful people, and it's fun. When we get together, the like minds, and we just start bouncing those thoughts, and wow, the whole kukuru, like the mind. And I was hanging out at Tita Kaumakaiba Kanaka Ole. She came and did a special sharing with us in Hamakua, and she said something that was very prominent and impactful for me. And I'm like going to take it right to her, girl, I'm going to use that everywhere. She said, when you look at Kanaka, how important are pule, our prayers, our songs, our dances, and again, every single one of us, no matter where our ancestral lines go back to, we had ceremony, we had dance, you had music, no matter what origin that is. Yeah? And really, as she said, song and dance is the only natural resource that we as humans actually create without taking taking life from other things. It is the only natural resource that we produce. This energy that we put out there to help to feed. What do we create that just feeds from ourselves? Yeah? Well, of course, after we die, our body also goes back, but not now. We fill ourselves with so much toxic junk, we become little cesspools wherever we're planted. Yeah? We didn't. We used to be able to help to feed stuff. Oh, I know. But that was really impactful. So, you know what? In this day and age, so many human, Kanaka modern man today are pulled away from ritual, or have been are done with it because some have gone so in the wrong direction that people have just stepped away from these things, and some were forced. Some of our traditional ways and songs and dances were stripped from us. Yeah, and in that, for me, what that is doing, like when because I always go back to in a way too. This is an environmental movement. Let's not forget that. It is strongly led by Kanaka Maoli and Hawaiian cultural practice because our culture is completely scientific and is completely created by Aina. And then the cycles and everything in Hawaiian culture comes from engaging with Aina. So when we got to be us, in Hawaii, when we got to be Hawaiians in Hawaii, when Hawaiian practices are lived in Hawaii, it is an intrinsic. It's an important part. It plays a very important role in the natural ecosystem. So, because I always say this is one of the sicknesses that we are facing today, is because we're dominated by a particular scientific perspective of a particular people, okay, who saw their way and has demanded the whole world bow down to their way. You're in a colonized islands, you guys. I hope you don't. I have a feeling in this car I'm kind of speaking to the choir. I heard you guys heard a lot of this before. But this is always to remind ourselves that we're under colonized, the major colonization. A lot of us, even if you have just recently moved here, you might have come because your people were colonized. Yeah? And some of that colonization of different peoples happened, more recently, or some just longer ago. Yeah? So this time, the world is crying out to everybody to remember back to a point of the teachings of how to listen to Aina. No matter what Aina you come from, it's about listening to the Aina that you're at. Okay? And in that, Hawaiian culture is prominent and one of the best to follow. Why? Because it was taught by this land. You can look at all the navigation stories. Yes, we migrated here. Kupuna came on the Va'a long ago, thousands of years ago. And even some of the oldest logs, like the Mo'olelo, everyone thinks we came from Tahiti. Well, yeah, we'll check with those stories and check with the Tahitians. Even they say when they got here, already had people here. So we are part of that. Yeah? So if we are just, just another Polynesian race, how come we different? How come we different from our Tahitian relatives? How come we all different as different Polynesians? If they all came from the same place. Well, how come we're different? Because our Aina is different. Culture is not simply a creation of man. Culture is the result of hundreds and thousands of years of influence of the Aina onto the people. So it literally shapes us. Our people being, that's why if I ask you what your ethnicity is, your background, your answers to me are land bases. Your response is a land base. Because all of our kupuna at one point were intrinsic parts of the places. So it's not, I'm a human being from Hawaii. I am Hawaiian because I'm in Hawaii. And my genetic makeup goes back to this soil. And the culture that I descend from was taught to us by these trees and by these mountains and by this water. The language I speak is influenced by the sounds of this land. So culture is all different cultures of the world, the cultures, indigenous cultures of places, are the instructions on how to live in a place and become part of it. Because right now the sickness that we're at is when we're in a time where we as a species have been taught to exclude ourselves in the measurement of nature. When they always go like, we're going to learn about the ecosystem today. And then we talk about the birds, we talk about the water, we talk about the forest, we talk about the plants and the fauna, all these things. And then we always forget to mention one particular species. We somehow always exclude ourselves from that conversation. What the? Hello? What is wrong? That is why we keep messing up. That's why we continue to build where we don't belong. We continue to extract more than we need. We continue to damage the ecosystems because we are not calculating ourselves into the effects of an ecosystem. Indigenous people, indigenous culture, native culture, whatever terminology you want, that is an intrinsic, I try to use that word and I keep messing up. Forget it. Is an important, critical component to how the land survives. Because everything, we can learn from Hawaii right now. Well, how they say everything came to Hawaii with WWW, right? Wind, wave, wind. Yeah, and that basic conceptual understanding of how things naturally got to Hawaii is like one thing appeared maybe once every 10,000 years. We had a new introduction of a new species. And so each thing that came had thousands of years to adapt itself to fit into this ecosystem. At one point, it was the Kanaka. When our Va'as arrived here, and we've been here, isolated on these islands for thousands of years, we literally physically became part of this place. And we fit into Aina. Was it a perfect fit? I don't think so. I think that there were mistakes made, and they paid attention to it. And they changed in order to make sure that they would not continue to be. Okay, this is my own personal hypothesis, okay? Again, hypothesis. Because you know, most of all the scientific is all one guess, yeah? They always guessing. We look into the star and we see the star that has this gas. I think. Not all the same gas is blue. We make like we know everything in the universe already. Okay, but that little joke just took me off the wrong track. What is it? Seriously, I don't ask it. Where was I going? What is that ready for this?
Hypothesis.
Oh, my hypothesis. Our connection here. So, you know there's fossil evidence of large flightless birds in Hawaii. They call them the moa. Large. The fossil evidence are found. I think they found some evidence on Mauna Kea, Kauai. And the carbon dating of these bones show that they lived right alongside with our Polynesian ancestors. Yeah? But what happened to them? So the hypothesis, I don't know. But the hypothesis is that when they first arrived, they hunted them to extinction. I think our kupuna would learn from that mistake. Because then look at our kapu system, particularly when it comes to managing resources and harvesting from and gathering from our natural environment. Yeah, you catch that wrong fish out of the wrong time of year, you're dead. Again, now our modern mind would say, oh, they would kill you for a fish. Our mind thinks, what makes you any more important than the fish? Yeah. So understand what the kapu was based on. What is the root of what the kapu was actually trying to make sure to stop? It was trying to sustain sustainability by trying to nip and not allow something to thrive. What is it that would drive the people to say, well, I don't care if the fish is out of season, I want to eat it now? Greed. That is the root of what the kapus were making sure to snuff out. Why? Because I think our kupuna would learn the hard way. And we have plenty more olelo. When we had, especially Ali'i, who kind of started to get a little bit greedy. And we knew how to get rid of them. Oh shucks, look, his canoe was too heavy, just peel over. Of course, ka'u famous, yeah? But that's the most important part, to remember to always snuff out that greed that would continue to thrive and just consume everything. Yeah? Now we're living in a culture that thrives on greed. Capitalize on everything. Yeah? Take as much as you can and give as little back as possible. That's the culture we're stuck in. Yeah? How do you capitalize, maximize your intake? Yeah? Oh, that's sad. Yeah? Everyone wants to argue, it's not romantic. Try to look at the world then. Look at the health of our planet. In just barely 100 years that has become the dominating concept in the world. You want to argue sometimes numbers back at us, but it's like, open your eyes. I'm not interested in entertaining arguments about that. When I'm looking at the face of our babies, they really say, I can't guarantee them a future. Because your numbers say something. Screw your numbers. We're dealing with the real world right here. Okay, so how does it have to do with the mountain? Same sickness. We are facing the same sickness on the mountain. Now, this is not a personal, or it's not really a jab at the science of astronomy, but about the corporate and the business that's built around it. Yeah? That is just gonna ramrod it as much as they can. Why? Because what is happening on Mauna Kea at our Aina's expense is a competition. Who gonna find what first and slap their name on it and get famous? Now that's not to disregard, of course, the noble science of trying to, and wanting to increase the knowledge of the world, but let's not be fooled that there's not an underlying layer of capitalists getting ready to maximize their intake on this. And we're just saying, yeah, we're not ready to sacrifice our place for your game anymore. We're not. No, we're done. We're done with that. And that concept, Mauna Kea for me, it's a microcosm of what we're dealing with in so many other arenas. Yeah? But to look at the top of this mountain is very important. So we have, of course, our sacred connections, our ancestral, our traditional practices and understandings of our pilina to this mountain. As the mountain is born of Wakea and Papa. Yeah, the union of heaven and earth at that point. Yeah? The Mauna Kea is sacred because of its uniqueness as well. It's very sacred because of its uniqueness that it's so high that it actually penetrates out of the realm of Papa and exists in the realm of Wakea. It's in the atmospheric realms. Yeah? And above that, it exists above where those of the Papa realm live, like the kumula'a or the trees, the plants. Most of they can't live up there. It's so high, it's in the Wakea realm. So then, those animals and plants that are found up there, they are of such high significance. They're not of the same realm as those bugs and plants down here. They are in their own. They've had to evolve into their own unique species. Because if you go take that little fern that's growing all over the TMT site, yeah, you take some time, holo inside there, they're going to tell you, no, in there, you say, get choking, kupu, all these unique types of ferns. Some of them look like ferns from the lowlands, but obviously, if I go get a polapolai from here, I'll go plant it up on Mauna Kea. You're not going to live. Likewise, if I go get that fern from way up there and say, I'll go plant it in my yard, you're not going to live. If I go find the pe'emakawalo, the wolf spider that lives all over in the Pahoehoe flow that is the northern plateau, if I go catch that bug and bring him down, he's going to die before we get to the bottom. But I find the cane spider down here, oh, he looks like the one up there, I go take him up there, he's going to die. Thank goodness. But, so the plants, understand some of them, there's a great video out there. If you guys go on to, what was it called again? There's an interview from way back in 2014. I just reposted it more recently. I want to try to circulate it again. It's an interview with this young man. I forgot his name. But he made this video when the Maunas first started because he was actually one of the field students that went out to help to collect the research for when they did the EIS and everything for the TMT site. And he came out afterwards to say that the environmental impact assessment that came out, their data was extremely, what's the word he used? Was it? He had not a fancy word. See, I tried to use the English fancy word. Like altered or something. It was altered. Their data was altered. And as they say, like, oh, it's not, there's nothing in this area, there's no significant, he was like,
manipulated.
Manipulated. Yeah, the data was manipulated. That's what he says, yeah? And on this video, he shares all the pictures, a whole bunch of pictures of all the different life forms that are all over that area. But you go ask one of these TMT people, oh, there's no life on there. Why? Because they do not respect life. They don't see that the lichen colonies as the rocks as anything that's significant to them. So therefore it's expendable to their curiosity. They don't see, or they don't recognize or respect the life of those ferns that are so unique that they can live up there in frigid temperatures at over 13,000 feet. They don't respect that. They don't see it as anything significant to them. Therefore, it is it can be, we can sacrifice that because I want to look further out. For me, this is my one personal gripe with the science. Well, actually, it's not the science. It's the fear of what our species would do with this science. If we cannot respect the life on our own planet, their big mission for get to another planet. We don't watch Avatar, right? Right now, in the current state of humanity, how do you think we would go out there? Yeah? Look who's already started his space endeavor. what do you call it? Space Force. Look who's planning on going out there. You think any of us gonna be on that starship?
I don't want to go.
Okay, wait, bring this back. But these are all components because it still comes down to the day-to-day situation that we are facing as Kanaka and people, citizens in our own Hawaii. Yeah? It's that capitalist drive that's pushing them out there. The sickness to just take and take and take. And that's why we started off very polite and saying, no more. Please, no more. Now we say, no more. No. They just don't get it. They're like, oh, we have to mitigate. We have to, no! Literally, guys, way back in the beginning, like 2013, 11, they were talking about how they're going to mitigate and negotiate. Well, we'll make it fit. We'll paint it the same color as the area. That's their offer of compromise. These are intelligent people. But now comes down to some of the more serious images that actually grabbing members of our own family, of our own community, to stand for it. Has nothing, for many people, it has nothing to do with what the mission of journeying on to the stars. It is, I need one job, bro. Most people who say that is like, yeah, you ain't going to be the one working up there. Right. Most of them going to be flown in from outside. Might get some of our local brothers for a little while, but that's the same brothers who stay. One day, they would grow up on the beach over there, and they would go, because they need one job, bro. And they would go build that hotel, and they build the gate, and now they can't even go down to their own beach, and now they're like, bro, I stuck out on my beach, bro. It's like, who built it, bro? And it's a sad thing because, you know what? We are living in a very corrupt state that manufactures that sense of need. Oh, come on, man. All these mahus, no. Seriously, that's the Mauna Mahu chat line, or our clique in Hawaii, yeah? The ones who shut down the highways and everything, yeah. Not right now, guys. Probably, anyone live feeding, they're probably watching, they're like, oh, we're gonna get famous, we're Lanakila. But, yeah, so, just wanted to point out some of these things. So if you are on any way on the edge of some of the things that in this situation that they are promising in exchange for having this on our mountain, just to analyze, take some time to analyze some of that. So one, the job argument. Okay, in total, they might supply a little over 100 jobs. At the beginning of the project, it might be a lot more local. You have to do the grubbing work, to do the groundbreaking, the digging, and everything. But when it starts to come to the actual construction of the building, most of all the local jobs are going to probably most likely stop because they become specialty jobs. And then flying people in. Yeah? And then of course, when it comes to, no, Mary. Speakerphone. I turn them on. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. A lot of those jobs are, again, mostly going to be shipped out. Shipped in, the workers. And then on the other aspect too, when it comes to the long-term jobs, most of the time we get some local people who are ones who clean the bathrooms, clean everything. And when it comes to the high-tech jobs, most that's flown in too. Now they want to argue, of course, that that's part of the exchange. They're helping to increase the jobs and the training for those types of high-skilled tech jobs within Hawaii. It's like, okay. But also, in reality, they can train people here and they can go to all the existing facilities. Why do we have to give them a new toy when they get 13 already out there? Let our kids into the one that's already up there.
They kicked them out already.
Yeah, they already kicked them out.
Aye.
The one telescope that actually belonged to Hawaii. It's the first one that they get rid of. Now, the other aspect of some things that they try to promise us. Well, what if we help to decommission some of the telescopes out there? Ko'okai had a good way to explain it. That is false gratitude. Because you know what? Those telescopes are slated for decommissioning already. It is not a compromise.
Nothing in it.
Yeah. That's fake. They're old. They're old and they busted, some of them. And some of them they're just like,
One never worked.
yeah. And actually, as it is, by law, right now, they're all supposed to be getting their decommissions. Why? Let's never forget, and a big thing I try to call attention to, the lease, the University of Hawaii's lease is over in 2033, as of right now. And right now, at one point, they started to try and pursue extending their lease, but then they pulled back. So currently, right now, there is no movement to extend their lease. So by law, everything on them, everything, not just the telescopes, the roads, the visitor center, the astronomer cabins, by law, all that is supposed to be removed and reached. That's not mine.
You okay? You okay?
No, see, it's not mine. It's supposed to be cleared out before the lease is done. Not wait till your lease is done, now start cleaning up. No. You clean up and they're supposed to be out. Why? Because don't forget, what is this mountain zoned? Conservation. Okay? For me, this is one of the only things in the American law that actually, jives with the Hawaiian cultural practice of the place too. Yes, conservation, even within the United States laws, that totally fits directly with the same intention of our traditional practices of the mountain. You leave it alone. What is the meaning of conservation? Conserve. They don't get it. So that's why the biggest thing that pisses me off now is when they say, you can stay in the road, you need to abide by the rule of law. So, oh, you hypocrites, swallow it. They're the biggest ones breaking the laws. Our law, what are we breaking? We're impeding traffic. Compared to what are they doing? Decimating, desecration. Oh, they move some rocks over the projectors. They might be distorting the land down Pu'uhuluhulu. Oh, you mean off the side of the parking lot? Okay, so just to reconnect us to some of the things that we're facing when it comes to this TMT project. There is the, and then in partnership too, if we remind that, again, in the laws of conservation, for any conservation land, there are 8 major criteria that any proposed project within a conservation zone has to be able to meet all the criteria, not just 1 or 2 of them, all the criteria by law. Some of the big kickers right off the bat, you are not supposed to do anything within a conservation zone that permanently alters the terrain. When they built that road, they dynamited it, right? The tar that they brought up is seeped into the mountain, yeah? That the existing telescopes right now operate with French drains, yeah? So their sewage for all these years, everything, when they flush their toilet, it goes in the mountain. All their chemical spill and stuff goes in the mountain. So they're trying to say, the new one, they're gonna create a tank and they're gonna catch it and they're gonna chuck it off the mountain. So for the entire life of that, we're gonna have these giant tanks hauling chemicals and sewage coming down one of the most precarious roads on the entire island and going down into our communities where?
Waterfall.
Yeah. So, those are permanent alterations. Look at the size of the TMT. We know the height, 18 stories above ground. That's already, what's the building code on Hawaii Island? How tall are we allowed to build? No, I think it's 6 stories. No higher than 6 stories. Why? Because after they went go build the tower in Hilo, everyone went, and I was like, no more. So the law is 6 stories. How to get away with 3 times the legal limit?
Right.
The pad, the pad that they want to grade for the TMT is approximately 8 square acres. Then the footing for the building itself is about 5 acres, 5 square acres. I'll be very conservative here, 3 to 4 stories deep. Could you imagine that pit? 5 square acres, 30-foot hole in the ground. Is that not a permanent alteration? So how did it pass the criteria? Corruption. Here's another one. Any proposed project within a conservation zone is supposed to serve the conservation effort. Mauna Kea is basically, it is a high alpine desert ecosystem. Okay? So any proposed project up there is supposed to help to assist in the conservation of the high alpine desert ecosystem. Helping to maintain the flora, the fauna, the insects, and anything in that of the area, including in the realms, the cultural sites. Astronomical buildings to look at the stars. What does it do for high alpine desert ecosystems? It doesn't do anything for it. It destroys it. How did that get through? Corruption. Huh? So who is not following the rule of law? It's blatant obvious that it's not supposed to be. However, then they did go. So remember this. So the University of Hawaii acquired nearly over 11,000 acres of the mountain under lease as it holds right now, which includes the upper summit and then a big long arm that stretches down all the way down to Halipohaku and all the way down to the second cattle guard when you're driving up the mountain. This is the first one that we're on right now and then the second one. That then brings it all the way up to Hawaiian homelands. Okay? Now, so they have all of that kuleana. On the summit, from way back in the 60s, how they were able to push these astronomy buildings is they then did a little bit of a rezoning practice. Not a rezoning, an additional zoning. And they designated, a designation, that's the term. And they designated an area as a science precinct. Yeah? Precinct? Like that. Yeah. And within the science precinct, they can do their experiments. However, that does not give them the right to circumnavigate the laws of conservation. Yeah? So, okay, they can continue to do your geology, and geography, anthropology, all those other sciences. Yeah. So somehow they reworded it in Hawaii, only in the state of Hawaii, is giant telescopes part of conservation of high alpine desert ecosystems. Yeah, you all feel kind of stupid when you read that one. It's like, oh, that's our state for you.
No treaty, no state.
Corruption. Yeah, straight up corruption. So that's how they got the first telescope in. That's how they got the second, the third, the fourth. Of course, now, remember this too. Like one of the other things they always say is, how come you guys only speaking up now? How come the Hawaiians only speaking up? That's a lie. Our kupuna have been speaking up for every single one. We never have the tools available to us to help to get the word out and to publicize, right? But our kupuna were there. Those who knew, those who were able to, they spoke out. And or some of our kupuna at that time, they were so in the realm of oppression that they didn't feel they had the right to speak. So those who did speak up, we have to always honor them and remember them. And every single telescope was one. And they were promised, only going to have one. Then they said, oh, we only have 3, only going to have 6, only going to have 10, only going to have 13. Here we are, number 14. Bigger than all the other ones. We've already proven. They proved it from back in the 90s, trying to stop the Keck Observatory expansions. And they were trying to make that one bigger, or give more whatevers. And people fought it. They held them up, and at one point, NASA actually came down and conducted the EIS for that one. Okay, so I remember in NASA's EIS back then for the Keck, it already said astronomical building construction has had severe negative adverse impact to the natural ecosystem of Mauna Kea. They already saw it. They already said it. That what's happening has been degrading to the place. Yeah. But eventually that project got stopped. They said, oh, we didn't have the money, whatever. but they didn't go. Well, here they are now coming through again with another one. Again, bigger, much larger landmass. They try to say, one of the reasons people ask, well, how come we can't just compromise? Why don't you take one down and put that in its place? Because it doesn't fit. It's that much way to hell bigger than anything on the mountain now. People aren't understanding how massive this building is. 5 square acres. That's almost like Costco. Could you imagine? Imagine a Costco-sized building up there with then a dome exceeding nearly 18 stories high. It would be pretty much one of the largest, and it would be the tallest building on this entire island. And where would it go? On the top of our most sacred mountain in the middle of conservation lands. Now, for some people who might not have a connection to Mauna Kea, or some people who might even be pro-CMT, but if there's places of Hawaii that they love, and particularly a lot of these beautiful sacred places and natural ecosystems, or a lot of them are conservation lands, let's look now to one of the most dangerous things that we are dealing with right now. So, from 2014, 2015, we fought them off, we held them off, we were able to fight them all the way up to the Hawaii Supreme Court. Hawaii Supreme Court invalidated their permits, but based on a technicality of the courts. They basically ruled that, you didn't follow due process. Why? Because the DLNR, when this project was first proposed, they went ahead and granted the permit, and then said, we'll have a contested case. That's backwards. That already shows that they're biased. They were already biased from the start, of the fact that they circumnavigated, because they're supposed to listen to everybody and then make their decision. The thing is, we already made a decision. Oh, okay. Okay, citizens, go ahead, you can talk. Basically, it was just like you had to go through the process. Okay, check out, we did it. There was no sense of listening. They already made the decision. It now put the community in the position of having to try and convince the DNR to change their decision. That's not how it works. Okay? So that's what the Supreme Court threw it out on. So invalidated the permit, won, we love to check the machines right back down the mountain. Remember that too. In 2015, the machines were already on the mountain. So we're already one step ahead. So go ahead, let them all arrest us one day, and if they happen to get the machine up the mountain, we're back tomorrow. We ain't going nowhere. We live here. We ain't going nowhere. So I don't know what they think they're gonna do. They're gonna lock us off the road. That's okay. We'll shut down Daniel Cave. Yeah. Because I heard get bad traffic up there. You may say that one. You may say that. No. But so invalidated. They had to go back through that. We got to witness that if you didn't. So they had to go back and redo the contested case hearing. They also opened up the opportunity for more people to be able to file and get in. And it was one of the biggest horse and pony show you've ever seen. Ridiculous. Same old rubber stamping system. First off, let's start with the judge. Mr. Maoli, I got my own personal grudge for this one. Talk bad on my mouth. Retired judge. Nothing to lose, yeah? She break the law, what are you gonna do? Fire her. 2, she is a donor to Imiloa Astronomy Center. Now that doesn't put her in a direct relationship to TT, but it's already like she's a supporter of the astronomical sciences and practices that are happening on Mauna. It got to the point that even the university was suggesting, can we please not use this judge or else whatever she says is going to appear biased. Yeah, they still never even listen to them. So Judge Amano was on. We watched it. It was stupid. Just watch them do the same old rubber stamping system. People bringing obvious evidence and approved. At the end, of course, she recommended the approval of the permit, DNR. Yep, they've approved it. We will put it back up to Hawaii Supreme Court. We were waiting for about a year, and earlier this year, they released their decision in which they ruled in favor of the project. 3 out of the 4 Hawaii Supreme Court justices ruled for it. Now this is a big one, everybody. And this is where it applies to everybody. And anyone who cares about any kind of any lands that might be held in conservation. The one justice that ruled, or that did not rule in favor of it, and he wrote his dissent to it, is Judge Wilson. We gotta back this guy, and we gotta back what he wrote, because it's speaking to the truth. He was appalled at the vote that his colleagues made. They ruled based on a concept of degradation. They ruled this in a nutshell. They're basically saying the mountain has already been degraded so much. We see that it's already been so degraded. We don't feel. These city people, they don't feel. We know they don't feel. They don't feel that this project is going to make too much more of a difference. But let's analyze what that means. In conservation land, to degrade the land, to damage the land, to damage anything, is a crime. It's illegal, right? It's a crime. So the Hawaii Supreme Court justices acknowledged the crimes committed in these conservation lands. How did they rule? To grant and allow another crime. There's already so much crime in the area. One more is not really going to make a difference. We already stabbed you like 13 times. I think this one with a bigger sword is not really going to make a difference. That is the sickness, the disgusting sickness in the judicial system of Hawaii. Corruption. Judge Wilson's dissent spoke out against that. And remember this now, on the idea that law is based on precedents. So what the Hawaii Supreme Court justices have just done is now put all conservation lands in Hawaii in danger. They have set up a template for private corporations to be able to infiltrate into conservation lands. And if they are able to degrade it down to a point, then it can basically be treated as if it's not conservation. That is the precedence that Judge Wilson warns against. We need to stand up to that. Because again, what are most of the conservation lands in Hawaii important? Why are they concerned? Either they're cultural sites, sacred sites, or they're critical ecosystems, they're critical habitats, and most of the time they're essential because they're kind of the kumu, or the source points in the beginning of the natural resources we need to survive in these islands. This gives them the template on how to get in there and screw it all up. This is again favoritizing the corporations. Now, again, a lot of the scientists, they're just, poor astronomers pursuing their science stuck in the middle, and they're just fighting for the little dream they want. But the bigger giant behind it is the developers, the guys who want to make their billions and their millions off of green, construct something like this. That's all the state is fixed on. Is these dollar bills that they see, but actually not much of it comes to us. So let's analyze a couple more of the bribes that they threw out there, yeah? Need. But we're going to give $1 million a year to education in Hawaii. $1 million isn't squat. Two, in some cases, they hold that money is going to go back into sustaining for STEM sciences, and particularly some of it is geared toward astronomy. So in a way, they're gearing back toward astronomy. It's kind of like they pay back to themselves. That bribery there. Do we remember back when the little troll was a governor, or Abercrombie? Remember what he did to the DOE budget? Yeah. You remember how much he sliced the DOE budget? They didn't even lingo before. Yeah. So think about what they do to us with gas prices, yeah? One time, boom, the gas prices skyrocketed. We're all freaking out. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then vroom, they drop it back down. Not back to where it was, but they drop it back down a bit. And we're like, it's not where it was, but at least it's better than what it was so expensive. And all of a sudden, boom, they blasted back and we're all freaking out and buying gas. We're like, oh my God. And all of a sudden, it goes back down. Not back down to where it was. They've done that enough that we are now comfortable paying, almost $4 of gas. That's become normal for us. Yeah. Same thing the state has done. So years before, they know this coming down the track. They've done it in so many other things too. They slice the budgets, everybody freak out, they put a little bit back, we get comfortable. And they slice the budget, you all freak out. They put a little bit back, not back to where it was though. You have to go less and less and less. They set it up so that the next corporation coming in is going to be the big old hero. Oh, we're gonna help support. We're gonna put money into. Oh, you're $1 million a year. Can we get the $6 million that they went slashed before back into the annual budget? We don't need your $1 million, bribe. When we already know we generate enough money. We generate way more. We generate far more, enough money to educate give every single child a good education. We can fund our own STEM sciences. We totally can. But we keep wasting money. Look, I know, the state doesn't have the money to. Well, we just had like $10 million just drop out of the sky, right? Not just $10 million just fell out of thin air, yeah, for private security, turning our local county police into private security force for an international corporation. $10 million, just boop, there it is. And that's almost gone, They pretty much almost spent it already. And they never even come to the mountain. From the time they released the $10 million, they have not been back to the mountain. We even talk to the police like, bro, I don't care, you guys stay here, we're getting paid good. Their pockets is Momona. All of our Popo's kids would have a good Christmas. You're welcome. Someone should do the research of the economic stimulus that the movement has created. We get choke business. Airlines make plenty, all the shirt companies make plenty, and anybody who sells camping gear will make chalk money. We would stimulate our own economy. But yeah, so looking and analyzing this, that is some of the dangers that we're talking about. And that's some of, taking some time to look at all these things that they're proposing to us as a sense of mitigation and negotiation. Bogus. Okay? But I want to call attention right back down, again, back to one of the primary power points in all this. The lease of the land. Because remember, right now, we're having to shuffle through the system that, it's not really our system, but it's the system that's oppressing us right now. That's why the third chant in our protocol, the third prayer, the last of the Pule section, is critical. E iho ana oluna is a political chant. It's a political prayer, if you want to call it that. It's a banana. It's another prophecy chant. It's not the whole of the chant, but this particular section has been held because we see the power that it wields. Okay? But we chant that. Everybody. E iho ana oluna. E iho ana oluna. E iho ana oluna. We are to iho. Bring down that which is above. Everybody. E pi'i ana olalo. E pi'i ana olalo. Rise up that which is below. E hui ana namoku. Let the lands, let the islands be united. And the walls shall stand. The foundations shall stand. So in there, what are we talking about? We're talking about all these systems above us that do not serve us, that are not pono for our communities, for our environment, all this structure, all these freaking bureaucratic nonsense needs to be brought down. We need to deconstruct these systems of greed, of capitalism, of consumerism, and rise up simultaneously, kukuru, build and construct, and rise up from below, that which is from all of us who are being held below. Rise that up, the new system, a new way, maybe guided by our history and our past and cultural practices that kept us living over here about millions for 2,000 years. Pretty damn good knowledge right there. Rise up a system that will do better for us, that will serve our communities and our aina better. Yeah? So that's why this is not a one-event show. The biggest reason we're coming out here, we're encouraging everybody to get involved, get engaged, because even after we win the mountain, it is not over. Don't you dare just go back to your mundane lives. We owe it. No. What's the word I'm looking for? It's our kuleana. Like I always say, the moment we popped out and you took a breath, you are bound to responsibility to care for the next. So to all of our children, that's why I found myself right out of high school going right into elementary school and teaching. I've been a teacher for nearly 15 years. And I taught from Papa Malao, from preschool, all the way to 12th grade, college, community, everything. But I especially invest in the young ones. Because sometimes when you're old, no hope already. Make me a liar, please.
And I just want to interject right there, just because education, and then I'm so happy and proud to see Lanakila. And I want you to be, I don't need to stand up. You guys don't need to know who I am. But
If she's with me and what I do, she's part of it. She would make me, so.
you know, every generation has a kuleana. And when we look at generational things, yeah, and my generation, our kuleana was to learn and learn well, and then to implement and teach. And so we taught this generation, and the generations below them, and we're still teaching generations. But I'm so happy because teaching in a Hawaiian worldview and the cultural context is a high function. In today's society, education and teaching, they get very minimal pay, whatever that means. But if we look through the cultural scope, that's a very high function to transfer knowledge, to give ike. And so I feel in my lifetime, so anybody who wants to say that Hawaii has never, everything is so down, in my lifetime, which is not very long, I've seen awesome, beautiful, great things. And I see the generations rise up, and Lanakila being one of them. And that's his function. Every generation has a purpose, every generation has a function. There's no reason why we have to keep telling ourselves, I never learned language. I never know that. I never know this part. But what do you know? Because everything is just a simple reminder. It's all in the DNA. And that's not just in Hawaiian DNA, that's in all our DNA. To be more aware of our environment, to take care of that environment, to learn about what this island lifestyle is and how well we need to take care of that because it's limited. That's what this movement is about. And I've seen this generation rise like no other. And yet, they stand on the shoulders of all those that came before them. So I just wanted to add that to Lanakila, because it's really awesome for me to sit here. And he's a product of many. But it's awesome for me to just sit here and go, all right. Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. Alawa nothing. But I just wanted to attribute that to Lanakila, and he's been doing a lot of traveling, which is really good. And I just wanted to acknowledge that in terms of him becoming a teacher. Because not everybody can be a teacher. Not everybody is built for that. It's not as easy as one might think, especially when you're teaching the spirit of a child. We're not teaching only the academic of a child. We're more so concerned with the spirit of that child. The spirit of that child's ohana. The spirit of how we function in the communities. And so he also has taken the lessons of his learning from his many kumu and established in his community the Hamakua Cultural Center, which is, I'm very pleased to say, yeah, give me mine. And I know that he doesn't really want to say, I did, because it takes many hands to do something. Yeah. Yeah, kukulu kumuhanu. Yeah, it makes many hands make light work. And that's the lesson in all of this. So I just needed to add that to your educational / cool thing.
mahalo and sile is that many kumwena. So I would love to come to Puna. I was really honored when I heard that kahea because the years coming, Kukulukumahana and Sile and Tiana, they're really grounded with this place. And it wasn't until later I found out my kupuna also come from Puna, Kipapalai. I was like, wow, I mean, to feel that at home here without even knowing that, and then to find out later was very home. So
I'm gonna be one teacher right now. No, you stand right there.
Oh.
And then just to help him, and you might want to turn that screen down, maybe, can. But if for those of you that are not attuned, the dances and the chants and the pule are all on this website. And that's the product of this generation. This generation speaks well like that. They can turn this into a whole other thing and reach the masses. The Kaho'olawe movement, we didn't have that many people who knew how to do this kind of things. Okay, so I'm just gonna have him run on the screen and Lanakila never expect us to pull this out because we thought, man, no need. But then I think it's worth pulling. So you can just see, for those of you who are interested, everything that he's talking about, all the pule, the chants, the hula even, they're all on video at this website. And for those of you that do know, great, it's puluhulu.com/learn. So teacher of me, I gotta bust this out. I'm sorry, but the understanding will come from baby, and then you can, what he's talking about, 50 years, it's all here. You guys gotta, really take some time, and if you want to, no rush, but, and look at all of these things. I just had classes here the last 5 weeks. And so many of the students that came to my class wasn't attuned to knowing that this website was on. So when you get a chance, you can just go here and look. Yeah, and that's all I wanted to share.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So this is, they built this website when we began here. And again, this is even a step up from 2015. 2015 was pretty around Facebook. Because that's all we do. That was even before Facebook Live. It's so easy to me. Right. Yeah? But go to huluhulu.com and there's all this and access to all this information. This is right there. So I mean, that's a key thing. You know what's really funny? At one point, kind of those of us who are kind of seen as some of the central leadership and on the Mauna, we were sitting down in one of our meetings one night in the tent, and then Auntie poor Kay, she leans forward, she goes, "You guys, you ever notice? We're all teachers. All of us. Myself, I've been teaching forever. Tipu was a school teacher. Kohokai was a principal. Punana Leo and a teacher. Hoa is a professor. And that's what's one of the first things that we established on the mountain? A university. So the first thing, even these other movements that are popping up and inspired by Mauna Kea, whether it be Hunananiho in Maimanalo, or Shirwa that they call it, or right now Kahuku. Both camps, they will get, there's Hunananiho University and Kikulanui o Kahuku. Why? Because we realize one of the foundational things, if we want to galvanize our troops, we don't want jarheads. We don't want sheeple. I tell everybody, and at the end, I was going to say it, I'm going to say it now. Don't take my word for it. I can share what my experience and my feelings and what I've gone through and what I've been understanding this, but then I want you all to continue to go out and check me. Go check me. And in the process of checking me, you're going to learn. Go research, go learn more. That's the key, and part of the reason why we have such a sucky DOE system is because, again, manufactured need, right? They know if they don't give as much energy into the DOE, they're going to keep us down to a low intelligent level, and then we just like, or I believe in this, they make education and schooling in such a way that it's so freaking boring. It turns us off to learning. It turns us off to wanting to be inquisitive. Because like, oh, I'm quiz, I want to learn about this, and this is how they teach us. And I was like, oh, I want to sit through this. I've been a teacher in the DOE system for, again, over 15 years. Now, I was blessed to be able to be a Hawaiian studies teacher. I was the breath of life for the poor kids. Most of the time. Who's coming? Oh my God, we got this there. So wake up early in the morning and be sitting down in one box for the next 2 hours. You can't ask me as an adult to get up and go do that. But they demanded of us as kids. And if our kids don't fit into that box, drug them. They create this fictitious, I truly believe, illness. Illness. Why? Because they get plenty of energy. Why is that an illness? I'd rather have that strong energy. Maybe they cannot sit in your box, but they can go do other things. They learn different makahanaka, ike. Those are guys who work, they learn really good by just doing it. You're looking at one. I was ADHD sped. I'm sorry, Marina's I'm also not a college graduate. I went to college for 1 semester. I hated it. I left. And I became a teacher. Now I even teach college. So that's not to down any of that. It's just that remember in this day and age too, Ale Pauka Ikika Okahi, as Kupuna said, not all knowledge comes from one source, and that not everybody fits into one shape of education. Yeah? Some of us are not meant to be all this numbers and everything. That's me, I'm not a number person. Or English. Grammar. As you can tell. But it is... Oh, sorry, I'm kind of going off topic here, but I'm also, remember ADHD, yeah? So, like over there. But for the connectivity to all things, that's the important thing too that the Mauna teaches us. And how that inquisitive nature of the Hawaiian mind, to see the connectivity, we're really good at sniffing through and finding out all this stuff. Okay? So I kind of want to start wrapping up with this. So I want to take some time for Q&A too. But I'd like to address some of the things that always kind of shake up our communities. So one of the other narratives that's coming out from the other side that's trying to drive fear and worry and more support to push this project through is the narrative by the business powers in Hawaii. Yeah, the narrative coming out is this is really bad for business right now. Yeah, what if everybody starts protesting everything? No one's gonna want to come and invest in Hawaii. All these businesses, they're not going to want to come here. I'm like, so I have now been quoted on a big old jumbo screen at that one conference, and it's popping up. I said, good! Let Hawaii be known as a bad place for business, for bad businesses. If you think you're going to come in here and push our people around, you think you're going to come over here and price us out, you think you're going to come and rape our resources, we will run your ass out of here. We're getting really good at it. So they want to divest, they want to leave? Good. Because in that too, we are not so, lima luna anymore. Yeah? This is what they push our communities in with their process of how they strip the monies and don't drop the money where they need and hoard money in different places so that our communities are always struggling. Always in a sense of, we need this, we always need, so we are willing to bend over for, the next big guy who's going to dump money on us. Yeah? That's one of the situations right now up in Kahuku. That when those wind turbines came in some years before, it was dropping money in certain parts of the community. And now some people, even though they want to, they feel like, we took money. Yeah? That's a big one. TMT did the same thing. They dropped money into my alma mater. That's okay, because they're still on the mountain, so thank you, we still over here. But to really stand by that and just to really looking at business in Hawaii, the business as usual. Status quo today, you guys, is death row. We cannot allow this regular political system to continue. It needs to change. In that, what's it going to take? We need to engage. Nobody has to want to talk about this part because I know how we get when it comes to voting and stuff like that. But I encourage you even beyond just, go and register and vote. No. Run. Because one of the most crappy ass things, they tell us to go vote, but then look where we have to vote. It's like, ain't no choice either. I'm trying to infiltrate and hoodie a system. That's what we got to work with. So let's get some good, tasteful action people in there. Because, from 2015, we did activate quite a bit of people. A lot of people ran for office. And that's how we get things shaking up in certain places. Yeah? Because we got people in. It's working from within us, this corrupt system, to flip that system. Yeah? Because in the end, we can try to stay only on the out fringes. And plus, this is not going to be, these battles are not won on the road. Okay? The battle is not won on the road. That is one of the steps to be able to hold space for us to then do the bigger work. Not the bigger, but the other work. Yeah? To start affecting change, to start encouraging communities, start getting political analysts and all this kind of stuff happening. Yeah? Well, that's the front line. So we do need to start paying attention to what's happening in our communities. We need to recognize that for many, we're stuck in this mind frame too, when it comes to business as usual kind of concepts, that the Huri Kalima, as we say, they've manufactured our communities to constantly be in a sense of begging. Yeah? So that we will beg, that we hope the next big rich person will move inside here and dump some money in our community. Because apparently that's all we have. We just gotta stand by and wait for the next company to come and dump money on us in exchange for, polluting our water. I guess I gotta suck it up because it's getting really hard, but it does. We can no longer allow ourselves to fall into the trap that is, but I gotta do my job. I gotta feed my family. I gotta put a roof over my head. There are thousands of different creative ways you can do that. Yeah. And to add to, understand that what's happening on the world scale right now. Mauna Kea is one of the pinnacle points of our part in the story of what's happening on the world scale right now. Just what last month had the big, massive climate change marches, right? One of the biggest ones is in New York City. You know what's all over New York City? Mauna Kea, Pukia'i Mauna. We were all over that march. Even some of the main speakers on the main stage, they were wearing Mauna Kea shirts. Mauna Kea is a symbol in the world movement. But sometimes a lot of us right here, we never even know that. Oh, what? We are? Yes, we are. It's also about how we're doing it. Kapu aloha is critical. But remember, kapu aloha, there's a partner word. There's another word that's critical to that we keep forgetting. Kapu aloha me ka oyai'o. What is that? Kapu aloha me ka oyai'o. 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 Truth. Honesty. Kapu aloha me ka oyai'o. We stand in kapu aloha and we stand in truth. Yeah? We're not going to try and make some frivolous something. No, we can stand upon we can stand firm because we know we are in the light. That's why we research, we find the truth in all this stuff, and so that their negativity cannot penetrate. So that their lies and deceit start reflecting and bouncing off because we just hold this truth, the automatic truth. Sorry, your building causes permanent alteration to the aina. Look at it. Oh, but no, look at it. Oh, but we're going to drop money. Look at it. Dropping money into I will say this right straight out. Helping the native Hawaiian community does not mitigate damaging the mountain. Sorry, Kanaka. No. Even if they're trying to fund the sovereignty movement. No. Absolutely not. I'm a big proponent, I've said it before too. It could be the sovereign Hawaiian kingdom of Hawaii building a Hawaiian temple on that mountain. I'll fight you too. Regardless of whoever sits on a throne or sits in whatever government that we create, The Aina is the supreme. Ain't no mortal human Kanaka higher than that. He ali'i ka Aina, he kawa ke Kanaka. Any real chief knows that. Any real ali'i knows that. The only reason our ali'i, or were ali'i, is because of their connection and the responsibility that they held to protect Aina. So they go turn their back on Aina, they lose their right to rule. They go turn their back on the Akua, they lose their genealogical right to be leaders. So in this day and age, same thing. Does not bind us to only bringing back the old. The world has changed. The world is much bigger. We ourselves need to look at the situations that we are facing here and now. And regardless of whatever flag we stand under, the mountain is forever. The water needs to be forever. The forest needs to be forever. That is primary. That is sustaining life. And that's why nothing that they can come to, and I say that to every single Kanaka organization especially. Do not ever think that you can speak on behalf of our people if you take any type of bribe or money as a sacrifice or an alternative or a mitigation to allow desecration. There's nothing they can give us to mitigate the destruction of the mountain. There's nothing. Why? Because we need to open our eyes and learn from what's happened around the world. How many different nations, how many different peoples and governments and whatever have done that. They eventually will buckle and they will give up their mountains. They will give up their rivers for a mighty dollar or whatever. And now look at our planet. I will always challenge everybody right back to that fact. Oh, so it's so great. How come I can't promise my kid a future then? This is our movement here in Hawaii that's part that we have to make sure that we win. Because it's also training us on how we're going to challenge and take on and change things for the better for the rest of Hawaii. And in that, helping to echo the change of the world. To help to encourage and support those changing efforts around the world. I think it's another level when you hear that story, the little story about I believe it's Diana Paki, who put out long ago spoke those words of that there will become a time when the world will look to Hawaii for instructions on how to find world peace, because we have something that's aloha. What is the mountain deeming us to do? Actually practice that to the highest. So, this movement is doing a lot on all kind of different levels: political, legal, spiritual, cultural, environmental. It's in all so many arenas. That's why I can only share tidbits and give a little bit of information in 2 hours. I like to just, in this time, like all I can do is give the tidbits and something that you might bite onto that's baga ono, and you're going to continue to pursue it. Or as I shared, every time if something I've said tonight has helped to spark your curiosity or something that you want to learn more about, feel free to contact me. It's all on Facebook, just hit me up. Or Instagram or something like that. Or just, no, don't call me. Because you're not going to get an answer. I never answer these things. But there's ways. And I can either help you or direct you to someone who can, or direct you to where you can go learn. Because that's what we all need to cultivate our intelligence so that we all, that's us, that's part of the kukuru. Yeah, the building, the constructing. Yeah. So in closing to this, I always look at the word, our word for mountain is Mauna, yeah? Mau. To progress. All those things, Mauna. The multiple progressions. That which is the continuum. That's what mountains are supposed to be. We're those pillars that rise up to continue to cultivate and capture all that is needed to flow down and give life to us all. That's why Mauna Kea is the hiapo. In our genealogy story, it's the firstborn, it's our oldest sibling, and therefore, like the little siblings, our job, we hope to support, because they will do everything they gotta do to help feed us. And not just for us, but for everyone. So as we continue to move forward as a lahui, as a community, as a species on this planet, and we are continuing to reawaken, I just encourage everyone to always stand firm and educate yourself so you are able to get to that point to articulate even to it in full understanding, so that you are firm and you are solid and you can be kukuru. You don't have to wait for a hero to come along. But every one of us has to be our hero. Okay, I'm kind of just wrapping it on now. So I'm going to go ahead in a moment of mahalo.
Come and join us in solidarity, because we have aloha for everyone